Welcome to the United Nations. No, not the one you see on the news with the colorful flags, the expensive suits, and the polite handshakes that mean absolutely nothing. I'm talking about the UN that exists in the basement of the basement, the one where the coffee is always burnt, the fluorescent lights hum with a headache-inducing frequency, and the air smells like ozone and existential dread. My name doesn't matter, my sleep schedule doesn't exist, and my job, I'm a UN forensic patent examiner for the Biohazard and Dual-Use Technology Division. Most people think patents are about protecting a new type of toaster or a slightly more efficient lawnmower. In my world, a patent is a blueprint for the end of the world, disguised as a breakthrough in agricultural science. It's 3:14 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm on my fourth double-shot espresso, the kind that makes your heart skip a beat every time the elevator dings. I'm staring at patent application 88 Beta 9er. On paper, it's a new atmospheric nutrient delivery system designed to help crops grow in the Sahara. To anyone else, it's a miracle for world hunger. To me, after 16 hours of cross-referencing chemical precursors and aerosolization coefficients, it's a cold start delivery mechanism for weaponized botulinum toxin. This is the routine, sifting through thousands of pages of innovation to find the one formula that doesn't quite add up. You see, the real monsters don't hide in dark alleys anymore. They hide in the fine print of intellectual property filings. Every day I play a game of spot the genocide against the smartest, most well-funded labs on the planet. I'm checking molecular weights, verifying synthetic DNA sequences, and looking for that one specific error in the documentation that suggests the author is trying to hide a gain-of-function experiment. My eyes are bloodshot, my cuticles are chewed raw, and I'm pretty sure I haven't seen a vegetable that wasn't inside a takeout container in 3 weeks. The pressure? It's constant. If I miss one detail, if I sign off on a patent that looks like a new vaccine but is actually a programmable cytokine storm, I don't just get a bad performance review. I get a front-row seat to the collapse of modern civilization. But hey, at least the pension is decent, right? Wrong. The pension only kicks in if there's still a government left to pay it. We live in a world where the line between curing cancer and liquefying lungs is a single decimal point in a chemistry report. My job is to find that decimal point before someone hits the print button on a three-dimensional protein synthesizer. It's a thankless, invisible, soul-crushing grind. I deal with the code black scenarios that the public isn't even allowed to have nightmares about. Every time you wake up and the air is still breathable and the water doesn't turn your insides into soup, you can thank a guy like me who spent his night arguing with a Swiss pharmaceutical company about why their new industrial cleaning agent has a suspiciously high affinity for human nerve endings. It's not heroic, it's just survival. And frankly, I'm too tired to be a hero. I just want to finish this pile of documents, find a corner to curl up in, and hope that patent application 89 Gamma doesn't involve the word contagious.
You want my job? First, you need a PhD in molecular biology, a master's in chemical engineering, and a specialized degree in international patent law. Then, you need to be the kind of person who enjoys reading technical manuals while your house is on fire. The recruitment process for the UN's high-risk tech division isn't an interview, it's a psychological autopsy. They start by looking for high-functioning neurotics. If you have a social life, a stable relationship, or a hobby that doesn't involve staring at spreadsheets, you're disqualified. They need people who are already broken, people who find comfort in the chaos of a code-black environment. The training begins at a black site in the Swiss Alps, far away from anything that could be considered fun. For 6 months, they put you through the isolation chamber. They give you 10,000 patent filings, most of them fake, and one real bioweapon blueprint. You have 48 hours to find it. If you fail, they don't just fire you, they make you sign NDAs that basically give them ownership of your soul. We call it the Graveyard Academy. The failure rate is 88%. Most candidates crack by the 3rd week. I saw a guy from MIT literally try to eat his own keyboard because he couldn't figure out why a pesticide formula used a specific isotope of sulfur. But the technical stuff is the easy part. The real training is the ethics simulation. They put you in a room with two buttons. Button A saves a city of 10 million people but allows a rogue state to own the patent on a virus that will eventually kill 1 billion. Button B kills the city now but destroys the research forever. There is no right answer. They just want to see how long it takes for your pulse to break 120. If you hesitate, you're out. If you cry, you're out. If you smile, they probably promote you to management. They teach you how to think like a terrorist, how to see the lethality in a shipment of medical-grade glass, and how to spot a lie in a 300-page lab report. You learn the jargon of deception, terms like biocompatible substrate, which actually means a way to make the poison stick to your skin. You learn to live on a diet of stimulants and cynicism. You become a specialist in synthetic pathogen attribution, which is a fancy way of saying you can look at a pile of dead bodies and tell exactly which lab in East Asia forgot to check their air filters. By the time you graduate, you aren't a scientist anymore. You're a forensic accountant for the horsemen of the apocalypse. You've been trained to recognize that humanity's greatest inventions are usually just very efficient ways to turn ourselves back into carbon. You lose the ability to trust anything. A new vitamin supplement? Probably a stealth delivery system for a mood-altering neuroinhibitor. A breakthrough in green energy, most likely a way to produce weaponized isotopes in a garage. Your brain becomes a high-speed processor dedicated to worst-case scenarios. And the worst part? You're never off. You go to a grocery store and see a new brand of fertilizer, and your brain automatically calculates the blast radius if someone mixes it with fuel. This training doesn't make you better. It just makes you more aware of how fragile everything is. It turns you into a stick man of the apocalypse, thin, exhausted, with pupils dilated from too much blue light and too much truth. You become the thin, shaking line between progress and extinction.
Everything changed 3 years ago during the Echo 7 incident. We received a filing for a revolutionary deep-sea carbon capture technology. It was beautiful, elegant. It promised to reverse climate change in a decade. But as I sat in my cubicle at 4 a.m., clutching a lukewarm cup of sludge that used to be coffee, I noticed a discrepancy in the enzyme stability charts. The carbon-eating bacteria had a secondary metabolic pathway that was redacted for proprietary reasons. Redacted at the UN. That's a code black right there. I didn't wait for a committee. I didn't ask for a subsection 4B authorization. I triggered a hard stop on the patent and called for an immediate on-site inspection of the lab, a private facility off the coast of an island that didn't appear on most maps. When the inspection team arrived, the facility was dark. No guards, no researchers, just the sound of air scrubbers working overtime. We entered the primary containment zone wearing level 4 biosuits, the heavy ones that make you feel like you're walking through underwater molasses. My heart was thumping against my ribs so hard I thought I'd crack a bone. We reached the central bioreactor. It wasn't full of carbon-capturing enzymes. It was full of aeromite, a synthetic, self-replicating nanoweapon that looked exactly like the miracle bacteria in the patent filing. The carbon capture was just a mask. The real purpose? This stuff was designed to seek out human hemoglobin and turn it into dry dust. Someone had filed a patent for a global executioner, and the UN was about to give it the approved stamp. Suddenly, the alarms started screaming. Not the fire drill alarms, but the atmospheric breach sirens. The pressure in the lab began to drop. The primary seal on the bioreactor was failing. If that tank ruptured, the aeromite would hit the ventilation system, and the island would be a graveyard in 90 seconds. My partner, a veteran from the CDC who had seen everything from Ebola to the plague, froze. His eyes were wide behind his visor, his breathing coming in ragged, wet gasps. "We have to vent the room," he whispered. "No," I said, my voice sounding strange and metallic through the comms. "If we vent, it hits the ocean. If it hits the ocean, it's over. We seal the room, permanently." He looked at me, realizing what I was saying. To seal the room meant dumping liquid nitrogen into the core. It would flash freeze the nanoweapon. and us. This is the moment they don't tell you about in the training videos, the moment where your life is just another line item in a cost-benefit analysis. I reached for the override lever. My hands were shaking so much I could barely grip the handle. The aromite was starting to leak, a fine silver mist that looked almost like glitter in the emergency lights. It was beautiful. It was lethal. I thought about my unmade bed, the pile of laundry I'd never finish, and the fact that I never got to tell that intern in the archives that I liked her glasses. Then I pulled the lever. The sound was deafening, a roar of freezing gas that turned the world white. The code black protocol was engaged. The aromite crystallized midair. The threat was neutralized. We survived by a miracle, a secondary backup seal that held long enough for the extraction team to pull us out, half frozen and smelling of death. The company behind the patent, they vanished overnight. The files were lost in a bureaucratic fire. But I still have the original 88 beta application in my desk. I look at it every night. It's a reminder that my life, your life, everyone's life is hidden in the fine print of a document sitting in a basement in New York. We are all just one approved patent away from being an endangered species. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's 4:45 a.m. and I have a new filing for a revolutionary sleep aid that I'm 90% sure is a neurotoxin. Back to the grind. Someone's got to keep the world spinning, even if we're all too tired to enjoy the ride.